Great awakening, light lords, and grand rising to those that have not yet awoken, to know that all things are for betterment. There is no good and evil. Eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil will only lead you to good or evil, but eating from the tree of life will only lead you to life and constant betterment. This is the salvation that Christ speaks of, and this is the salvation and redemption that we should all look forward to and connect ourselves to in order to connect back to the natural state of thinking and better ourselves within the natural realm. Now today I am here with my brother NAFIALIEN, and we will speak on the topics addressing our common community and what we call the minority. We will speak on all of the things that we need to better ourselves and reach enlightenment on the street level, the hood level, or the lower level that we call Babylon, and all of the people that are darker pigment that we call Black/African American, which are not really black, but really just darker brown, because we are the flowers, we are the flowers, we are the leaders, and we are the scientists and the architects of civilization itself as being human beings. We are the founders of that. We are the founders of all of the things that people say that are cool or hot or anything good and bad that you see as can be perfected or something that can be seen to be something that you should do.
To manipulate.
To manipulate your existence and be better.
You try to manipulate sins into a good way.
Betterment is all that we should look for, all that we should connect ourselves to, and by the darker brown pigment people of this world actually exemplifying whether they're in the lower, that they're constantly bettering the lower, whether they're in the higher and they're constantly bettering the higher. It should teach you that everything is actually meant for betterment, because the real life of this planet, the darker pigment people, the brown skinned people that connect with the trees and straight from the jungle of the tropical environments that actually experience life and exemplify life by honoring it and using what it has honored as morals and principles and symbolic representations of its physical manifestation, and taking it all in to better itself. That is the reason for betterment, and that is the reason for all life and purpose on this existence. First, if you do not have betterment, then there is no reason for existing. The reason for existing is because there is no thing. There is no thing. The no thing, if you did not have a concept of a thing in the first place, then you could not imagine or have a concept of no thing. So that is where we will start. We will start by talking about the fact that there is no thing, and that is our true self. And the reason that we have no thing is to create a thing. Meaninglessness itself, not having a meaning itself is the base to give meaning.
Right.
It is the base to give meaning, right. And that is our jobs. If you go to Psalm 82, it will specifically describe the fact that every person, every human being that lives on this earth consciously actually knows no thing. And by us knowing no thing, we will actually pass on or transition, just as energy does, cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to the next. Just as energy does, we will die as mere mortals. We will die as mere mortals, and we will come back on this earth as what people call reincarnation. And we will come back on this earth knowing no thing. But it will also say, when you read it, that we are sons, all sons of the Most High God. All of us are the Most High. All of us collectively put together consciously are the Most High. We are the God. We are the God. We are that being that controls our own existence. If we all together become conscious of it, then we will all transition and reincarnate efficiently and effectively and fully conscious of our reincarnation and come back on this realm bettering constantly. The whole point of existence is betterment. And if you are not fully conscious of yourself, knowing nothing, being a God, a shattered part or shattered piece of the Most High, coming back into the reincarnation, then you will not be conscious of the reincarnation, only redeeming yourself of the karmic debt that you have placed yourself in your current lifetime. Once you have become conscious, fully conscious of the karmic debt that you need to pay back to yourself,
Karmic debt every day.
the karmic debt that you need to pay back to yourself, then you will consciously redeem yourself and be saved with the Christ energy or the Christ mind, which is the acknowledgement of the knowledge of the tree of life, not the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, which is why JAH MASHIAC, who people call Jesus, which is actually a consciousness and not an actual person that's physically manifested. No. It is actually the being that we all are. It's the thought frequency.
It's the good in you.
It's the betterment in you that wishes to push forward and actually expand your awareness. We must connect to that awareness.
We just gave him a label. Jesus is not a person. You Jesus. We all Jesus. We all God. We all sons of each other's sons. We have kids. We reproduce. That's our survival stage. We better ourselves by surviving and teaching our kids better than what we went through. Because we don't want them to go through what we went through, because we went through it. But we wouldn't know not to go through, for them not to go through it if we never went through it. That's better.
Yes.
That's betterment.
Experience. That's what this is all about. Everything, see, the Hermetic principles or the natural laws of existence will tell you that everything is half truth. Everything is half truth, because you can hear something that someone says or you can read something yourself, but until you actually take the information and apply it to your life and experience it, then you won't get the betterment from it. But even when you get that experience, it may be different for another person who is living from another perception and living in a different circumstance. So everything is really half truth. But once we become conscious of all of ourselves as individuals, connected back to the oneness, the source that reflects back from the zero, which is no thing, then we will all have that constant connection to know that we are all pieces of one puzzle and actually connected to one another through our auras and different astrological energies, and we can actually use our different pieces of ourselves to better each other in the whole full spectrum of the circumstances that we are in, and creating the full acknowledgement of the truth, which is complete salvation in heaven, what we call Eden. Okay, so once we have all of that acknowledgement and all of that full consciousness, that birthhood, that inheritance, like the Bible says, the meek shall inherit the earth. The people that actually go towards the divine part of themselves, that the God that they actually are within themselves, and become more conscious of that. The Bible also speaks of the time when angels would come down into the children, the sons and daughters of man. The angels would come down and the sons and daughters of man would begin to prophesy, and they would begin to do things that would transcend the limits of what people would think as the physical reality. Like they would jump off of buildings and land and would be alive. People would jump off of buildings and they would not die.
And we do that now.
Because there are people now, if you go online and Google and research, because we have this outstanding technology. We have computers in our hands that we created for ourselves to enlighten ourselves and to make ourselves better, even though we did it through our lower self. What people think is bad, the consciousness, the point of the message of this consciousness is that it doesn't matter about the evil or the bad. It matters about the betterment and what it takes to better the self. Our lower self made this technology. Our lower self made this technology in order for the higher self to take it and alchemize it into betterment. Once we take this technology that we have, and actually go on Google, research, go on Yahoo, research that the fact that everything that's happening right now is happening without limits, without limitation. All of the possibility within our minds, within our DNA, can be expressed as genes and actually create our physical bodies as a way to exemplify or solidify the expression of breaking out of limits.
You limit yourself.
Our bodies themselves, through epigenetics, we have already found this. If you go on Google right now and type in children with psychic abilities, it will show you that since the 1980s, all of the children that have been born after that have been born that have not been, all of the children that have not been, tortured, subconsciously tortured by the Babylonian system, and are, more farther away from the Babylonians' ways. They are children that can tell you things without you physically seeing them or actually you know what I'm saying, you knowing them, knowing that that can happen.
Yeah, put the image in your head.
That will put children behind curtains.
How psychic they are.
And that will put a spoon behind the other part of the curtain. And that will tell this child to bend the spoon. The child will be turned around away from the curtain, around from the other side of the curtain, and not even know that the spoon was there. And the spoon would bend because the child would connect intuitively, because everything is repetition. Everything is repetition of embedded thoughts. Everything is subconscious. Everything is a whole bunch of thoughts built on top of one another. So the child is intuitive and can connect to those buildings of thoughts.
The building blocks of
The building blocks of thoughts themselves.
Right.
So now the child, through genetics, through the DNA which is connected to the all, which is really no thing, the expression of the possibility of no thing, which is oneness, that we are all connected to. That child is connected to the all, the oneness, the I am that I am. So the child being connected to that knew that the spoon was there without even having to ever come into physical contact with the spoon. Can connect to the building blocks of the thoughts that were around that child at that time and connect to the spoon and bend the spoon.
Because the child knew what a spoon was and thought of a spoon. He bent it.
So we are now being born with these actual gifts that the Bible speaks of, that will happen to the sons and daughters of man. The angels coming down and bonding with the consciousnesses of the sons and daughters of man. We are those sons and daughters of man, because even all the way in the Old Testament, like I said, Psalms 82, it says that we are God. We are gods. It says you are gods, ye are gods, you are gods. We are all connected to that oneness. And once we consciously connect to that and consciously break down ourselves, unravel ourselves, unravel who we think we are and connect to who we actually are, then we will come into that phase of actually creating the technologies that we need to better ourselves constantly. Straight from nature, not harming anything in nature or ourselves.
Change, period, is a form of God. You either change for the better or the worse. You either feed that God or the other. It's all a God, because you making yourself in control to be able to manipulate something for your own needs.
Yes, there is no creation. There is no creation. That's a point.
Before we got here,
all of this has been. If you go read Ecclesiastics. The great Solomon wrote about the fact that everything that has happened and is going to happen has already happened. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed from one form to the next. So that means that everything has already been. It has only been manipulated in a way to where it can be experienced in a way that has not been experienced before. And when you connect to that certain frequency, to where you repeatedly focus on certain thoughts that you see as betterment for yourself, and then you actually create the realms that you're in through 4D space-time curvature. Go research four-dimensional space-time curvature, and you will understand that your mind is actually the space and the time that you consciously exist in.
And create to live within.
There is really no creation. There's only manipulation of the energy of yourself.
Right.
And once we connect back to that oneness, we will actually see that we are living in the illusion of duality, of separation, in order to communicate with ourselves, to experience betterment constantly, infinitely. Because see, there is zero. Zero and the infinity sign, which is two zeros beside each other, is actually the zero reflecting itself back to itself to create all numbers.
All and nothing.
And nothing back to itself. Because it is nothing, but in order for nothing to be no thing, it has to know that it is nothing. And in order for it to know that it is nothing, it must reflect something. Right. And so something must be the illusion of the reflection of no thing
nothing.
In itself.
Original. You gotta keep it original.
This is the consciousness. This is the constant betterment that everyone that supposedly on a lower level exists on needs to take hold to in order to migrate themselves up the Jacob's ladder, up the ladder of betterment and oneness and experiences of all that can be higher, or one sees as joyous or happiness.
That's why I wake up to wake up. I question everything.
Question everything. Question your reality. This is the cure.
Question your question.
Question your reality.
Questions. Shit.
I am JAH MASHIAC, and I am here to live out and teach higher wisdom as an example for the collective consciousness. And I say today that all of us will wake up. All of us will wake up to the fact that we are all zero. And there is no other thing. And the illusion of ourselves is actually the oneness. And regardless of that, there is all unity between all puzzle pieces of this matrix that we are living in. And we will constantly upgrade and become one unit, become one moving unit, as all knowing that we are God and we are all the Most High. We are all the I am that I am. And all of us moving together will constantly better existence in the universe, will constantly better the existence of what we think as creation.
Or the world we live on.
Or the world, or the realm, or the plane. We will constantly better this. And I prophesy this today because everything that our ancestor speaks of is happening right now. It is telling us to be that which our ancestors speak of, that will happen. It is telling us to be that Christ, that Jesus, or that Muhammad, any of the Buddhas, or any of the gods that we think of within our imagination. They are actually us. We should embody those morals and principles, those aspects of our imaginations that are expressions of our realities.
Right, and walk in their shoes.
That are expressions and manifestations of our realities, and actually walk within their shoes.
That's the only way to
and be
true.
them.
Because only the people are you.
We must see that in order for us to even imagine a thing, our brain must connect with that reality for it to come into us. So that reality is already within ourselves. We have to take that energy and express it. Take it into a part of ourselves and tweak our egos, tweak our expressions, our personalities to fit what we see as constant betterment in the fullness of the oneness of all that is the I am that I am, the Christ. I love myself, and I wish for all of you to have a great awakening and grand rising. Peace.
Peace to you, brother.